pass through on the next. And a right and left through and turn the girl and down. Pass through, star through. Do the right and left through and turn the girl and down. Veer to the left, chain down this line, turn this girl. Pass through onto the next and now. Do the right and left through and turn the girl and now. Slide through, square through, go through. Reach out to the left, courtesy turn this lady, and chain her across. Pass through on the next.
All right.
Do the right and left through.
Okay. Now, do it. Just stay that way. Do I have one more? Someone else.
One more couple.
No, well, not one more couple. Let's have another call.
Oh, another
Come
couple.
out and try this.
Come on,
Don't
you
you
can
guys,
do it.
we're not.
This is not hard.
We don't care if you resolve this. We want you to try it so you can see how it works. Would you like to try? Oh,
We have one.
we have a guy. All right.
Everybody forward and back. Pass through and on to the next. Right and left through. Make yourself a right-hand star. All the way back with a left-hand star. Do-si-do your partner. Do-si-do your opposite. Pass through and on to the next. Right and left through. Ladies chain. Chain them back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you see that you don't have to worry about a thing? You don't have to worry. Cal?
I don't want to call, but I want to relate a story.
Okay, just a second. Bob will get the microphone back to Cal.
I'm Cal Campbell. I've been invited to visit with the Legends, and it's made me dredge up all kinds of things in the way of memories. We danced in the 1960s with Lee Helsel in Sacramento, California. He had a club that danced every night, 22, 23 squares. Okay? Big gym. Every night we had what was called a mini set, which is essentially now what we term a Sicilian Circle. And the club loved it. You need to understand that this is something that you can migrate into what you do with your clubs. It's thinking outside the box. In other words, you move outside the box and it suddenly becomes a totally different environment. Witness what happened with your right and left through. You had to suddenly go from orientation to walls to orientation to couples.
And I needed another cup of coffee.
Well, you know, I never try to explain you. Okay, and this is a wonderful way to do it. You can also scatter promenade. In other words, instead of putting them in a circle, you can say scatter promenade any way you want to in the floor. Orient with another couple, and once again I'd go with back up to a wall or face a wall. However, I danced for a long time in Santa Fe in a chapel that was hexagonal in shape. And so I learned an awful lot about teaching from that aspect to shift from walls to orientation to the couple and things like that. But don't hesitate to put this in your square dance program. It'll work.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Jerry. For those of you who may have had me show up to call one of your dances, you might remember that typically when I'm calling a guest dance someplace, I'll start with the big circle and the Sicilian Circle. And I get a lot of really, really strange looks. When I said, oh, okay, I got all these squares out there. I said, okay, everybody back out, make one big ring. Huh? Make one big ring. Everybody in one big ring. And that's, you know, a beginner dance, you know. and they'll get out there and they'll start going through it, and you can use this all the way through advanced if you like, because here again, most of your movements are two couple things. And when we get done with that first tip, I get lots of people come up and say, that was fun.
It's very different.
They get to dance with everybody in the hall all of a sudden, you know, and if you've got strangers out there for the first time, they're getting used to being with the people they're with. They're all succeeding throughout. Very important. And at the same time, while they're down there, guess what you're doing? Say, he belongs with her, he belongs with her, he belongs with her. You're learning who is out there, and that comes very, very handy when it comes time to call to the squares.
The only negative of that, if you follow Daryl into a town, they'll come up and say, you know, this strange little man was in here last week.
See what I mean? You just think he's nice.
Yes. Here.
Race.
I'm Joan Boyd from Alberta. I don't know where I am in Alberta because I move around a lot. Anyway, my comment on the Sicilian Circle is it eliminates the possibility of the same people squaring up in the same square all the time. You get to dance with everybody this way.
Yeah, all of a sudden, too, you do not have weaker couples. There are no weak couples. They've all been dancing with everybody, and they've danced with the stronger couples, they've danced with the weaker couples. All of a sudden, you have no weaker couples. They're all the same.
One thing I did not say was, in the Sicilian Circle, after we've danced them, warmed them up, or taught and drilled them through whatever I want to, I'll say, okay, circle up 4, pick up 4, circle up 8. Stop where you are. Pick a home. And they're right close to either being heads or sides in a circle, and they just square their sets that way, and you're right into squares to go ahead and dance whatever it is that
Demonstrate that. You've got 8.
Do I have 8? Cool. Okay, circle left. Don't do that. Okay.
Pick up a couple.
Just bend to face the couple that you want to, and the others do the same. Okay. We don't have 8, we've got 6. You can't count very well. He did that on purpose. You just think he's nice. Okay, but pretend there's another couple there. Circle up 4, pick up 4, circle up 8, not 16, not 12, just 8. Okay, the ones that get it. All right, the other 2, pretend like they had it. Stop where you are. Okay. Do you have heads and sides? No. Sure you do. Sure you do. You got heads and sides, so you can go right on into your square from whatever it was. If you taught a square through, you can say head square through, do-sa-do, with the corner, turn back to the partner, promenade, or blah, blah, whatever.
Notice what we're talking about here. Instantly, he has a square, and we didn't lose time getting squared up and everybody holding their hand up, well, we need one here, one there. Instantly, they're squared up. And again, you don't lose that time that it takes to reorganize. Yes, in the back, and I'm sorry, here, Bob will bring the microphone to you.
Anyway, I'm the one that has no excuse. One of the things that my wife... Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Bentley. I am from Pueblo, Colorado. Go to Denver, 100 miles south. Anyway. One of the things that my wife and I have started to do at some dances, where you get out there and you're missing 2, is we'll start dancing the Sicilian Circle. And if we wind up facing out, because of course the caller is calling to squares, we just partner trade California twirl, and if we can't do something, we just don't and continue on. So, you know, that's a way of at least demonstrating it, and I just was thinking, you know, and it's a lot of fun, because you really do have to think as a dancer.
Very good.
Done. See, I can keep it short.
Anybody else like to add something or have something cleared up?
Tom.
Thanks. Tom Hollenberger, Manhattan, Kansas. Singing calls, you just got to make sure it's not a call that needs 8 people.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of singing calls in the Sicilian Circle.
I do not.
Well, it's going to involve circle figures, you know, walk
Yes.
around the corner, seesaw the partner, back out, circle up. You can do that, and you can do it with partner changes, but chances of you getting back to that original partner diminish greatly. Cal can tell you exactly how to do it because he's done it so many times.
Cal Campbell, Sicilian Circles are a category of dance. If you go look, you can find dozens of routines that are done to Sicilian Circles. There are 64 beat routines normally, and you can prompt them. Give the dancer the beat. Instead of calling them, prompt them. Learn how to find the phrase and then prompt the routine. You can make up hundreds of these things that'll work fine. Now, you're not going to be doing singing calls, but you are going to be using singing call music. You just pull the same stuff out of your case, learn how to prompt a little bit ahead of it, do the routine, and now the dancers are dancing to the music. And for many of them, this will be the first time in square dancing they've ever gotten the opportunity to do that. Okay, see what I'm talking about? All right. One thing you need to remember is this isn't a game where you try and change the routine every time. What you'd like to have them do when they do this is turn off their brain, dance to the music, which means the routine that you create or call to the 64 beats needs to be repeated throughout the entire record. It's not a game of trying to trick them. It's a game of saying, hey guys, look at the music. Okay, what I like to do is I get in and I say, okay folks, you're going to have to memorize this routine. About 3 or 4 times in, as soon as you're good at it, I'm going to shut up and turn the music up.
Yep.
They love it.
I'll tell you what, gang, just a personal opinion, what Cal was just talking about is a whole lot of what we are missing today in our squares, let alone the Sicilian Circle. The idea that you can just get out there and dance a piece, good flowing piece of choreography multiple times and enjoy dancing to the music. We've turned into such a group of callers that we're so busy trying to change everything all the time and make it challenging to the dancers that I think we have lost a lot of the dance aspect of what we do.
Those of you in the back, unless you want to call again?
No.
Okay, why don't you have a seat? Come on up front. Sit down. Give it a nice hand.
You know what you're pointing out there too is that be quiet, I'm talking. The idea here is that you cannot come into this with extemporaneous choreography, and I think that's the big point that Cal makes, and that you gentlemen up there are making as well. This is not something that you can come out here and guess your way through it. You've got to know what you're doing before you say it, and let it happen, and let the dancers win, rather than you kind of guessing your way through it. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah, I mean, it is that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we tried turning the whole thing into a choreographic puzzle game. Now the challenge for the caller, when he's got a square and a singing call going, okay, how many different figures can I put in here, right? I mean, how many callers today call the same figure 4 times in a row? Because you can't do that. Dancers are going to get bored with it. You know who's getting bored with it? The caller. That's right. We don't do that for their part of the game. We do that for our part of the game. If you've got a good piece of choreography, a good piece of music, and you do the same figure 4 times in a row, guess what? You can start performing. It's got more to do with how well you call that singing call than it has to do with the choreography. We've turned absolutely everything in square dancing into choreography rather than dancing. And of course, the Sicilian Circle, that's a teaching method. And I'm getting off topic again, aren't I? Sorry.
That's what we're talking about, teaching. For those of you that are the newer callers, working the Sicilian Circle also allows you to see the perspective that the call actually is working generally with two couples, not the entire square. So sometimes when we do our schools, we see everybody trying to watch the whole square when actually everything happens two couples, one on each side. The Sicilian Circle will allow you to see that in your mind, that you're not concerned about 8 people. Those 4 people that are working together. That was Buddy Weaver made the comment earlier. And Bob, you have another comment?
Yeah, and it was sort of in reference to Buddy's comment. If you're teaching, it is extemporaneous in relation to what you're teaching. Because you may go through a figure several times. You may go through a pattern several times just to help learn that. And you may move them on and do that pattern again and bring them back. What I was doing here was extemporaneous. I wasn't trying to do what I would do if I was using it in place of a singing call. I would be using a 64 count figure that moved people in a certain way, and I would have them with their partner moving along, because there's a particular, shall we say, wow effect of doing a Sicilian Circle where they can do the pattern and dance to the music and enjoy it, which is different than the teaching mode, where I think is very extemporaneous in some ways because of the teaching goal.
Right. How many of you here call progressive squares? How many of you have no idea what I'm asking? Progressive square is where you'll have an equal number, a symmetric number of squares, and you get them in lines, and you say pass through and move on to the next. They'll move on to the next square, and part of them will be facing a wall, and you say if you're facing a wall, automatically, California twirl, you do something, pass through, move on to the next. If they're facing a wall, the California twirl, and somewhere in there you can turn them around, bring them right back up. What you do is you look at this 2 couple here, or that 2 couple there, whatever. As you're looking across the floor, pick out 2 couples that are facing each other. Take one of them down, all the way down the other end of the hall with that partner, being, no matter what you call her, make sure they're back into lines with that girl by their side, and move on, turn around, move them back. When they get back up here, circle left, or star through, square through 3, element left, they're back in their original squares. Does that make sense? So, it's still 2 couple. I don't care if you cannot cite to 2 couples, you cannot cite to 4 couples. If you cannot cite resolve 2 couples, you cannot cite resolve 4 couples. And trust me, 2 couples is a whole lot easier to deal with.
Speaking of this progressive square thing, how many, a few years ago, we had some of the legendary callers call. One of them was Jerry Helt. We had a huge crowd. He did progressive squares that night, and he is the most uncanny at that anybody I've ever seen. Did his pattern, had everybody out, used the singing call and brought them back, and I was standing there and I see they're about there, and boom, he had them. And we had a...
Do you think that was extemporaneous?
No. No, absolutely not. But that's what we're talking about. This is a teaching tool. It is a teaching tool. And again, I said there are advantages for the dancers. We've kind of gone through those advantages that we perceive to be effective. But it's also an advantage for the caller, especially if you're a new caller and you're learning to call. You can see how calls work, how they can be resolved. You can resolve to 2 couples, get them back together, move on to the next. You're not under the pressure of trying to resolve a square. All you're doing is getting 2 people back together, point them in the same direction, move them on. But it lets you work choreography and understand how that choreography can be put together, how you can work these various calls. Notice Daryl did flutter wheel, reverse flutter wheel, walk and dodge, partner trade, reverse flutter wheel. You can see how these calls go. There's a little call analysis sheet that CALLERLAB has. This allows you to use those tools, and it is a teaching tool, the Sicilian Circle. And again, we're going to close. I don't see any more questions, but Daryl and I believe in this so firmly. If I have anything that I could give you when you walk away from this convention, would be that you take this home to your classes and try it. I'm not asking you to use it, I'm asking you to try it and see if you don't find it to be one of the best things you can possibly do. I want you to give Daryl Clendenin a really nice hand. Thank you so much for your time.
If you have any questions that you were afraid to ask, stop us out in the hallway or something.
Or
We'll
come
be
up.
happy to discuss it.
Thanks for coming, guys. It's a nice crowd. We appreciate it.